I'm gonna tell you something no woman has ever admitted out loud. We don't just go silent. We speak entire novels through our refusal to speak. Every hour we don't text you back is a chapter. Every conversation we avoid is a plot twist. Every smile we don't return is a character death. Our silence isn't empty space. It's a language you've never learned to read. Women have 7 distinct types of silence, each one carrying a message we're too afraid to say directly. I don't pick and choose which silence to use. I construct complex emotional symphonies where each rest note tells you exactly what I can't. Most men think silence means we have nothing to say. Actually, it means we have everything to say and nowhere safe to say it. Signal number 1, the silence of processing shock. When something you do or say breaks my understanding of who I thought you were, I don't respond immediately because I'm rebuilding my entire perception of our relationship in real time. This isn't me ignoring you. It's me trying to reconcile the person I love with the person who just said something that changes everything. My silence means I need time to figure out if this is who you really are or if this is who you're becoming. Thursday, February 9th, 11:47 p.m. While lying in my bed staring at your text message for 34 minutes, you tell me you've been talking to your ex-girlfriend Emma about closure for the past 3 weeks. I read this message 17 times before my brain can process that you've been having secret conversations with someone who used to share your bed. I don't respond for 6 hours and 42 minutes. Friday, February 10th, 8:23 a.m. when you text, "Did you see my message?" I'm still in processing mode. During those 6 hours, I've mentally replayed every interaction we've had since January 15th, looking for signs that Emma has been a shadow presence in our relationship. I've Googled emotional affair versus friendship and taken 3 online quizzes about trust. My silence continues for another 4 hours. Saturday, February 11th, 2:17 p.m. After you call me twice, I finally respond with, "Need some time to think about this." What I really mean is, I need time to decide if I can love someone who keeps secrets this significant, or if loving you means accepting that there will always be parts of your emotional life I'm not allowed to access. MIT psychological research documents this as cognitive restructuring delay, when new information contradicts established beliefs about a person. The brain requires extended processing time to integrate conflicting data. My silence isn't punishment. It's self-protection while I figure out if the foundation of our relationship just shifted or completely cracked. I don't speak because I'm still writing the story of what this means, and I won't give you words until I know which ending I'm writing toward. My chest feels hollow for 3 days while I carry the weight of information that might change everything between us. And I have to press my palm against my sternum every morning to remember I still have a heartbeat under all this uncertainty. If you're watching this because someone's silence has left you confused and desperate for answers, subscribe now. The signals I'm about to decode reveal the difference between silence that protects and silence that punishes. Processing silence transitions into something more defensive. Signal number 2, the silence of emotional overwhelm. When my feelings become too big for words, I retreat into silence, because speaking would require me to organize chaos into sentences, and I'm not ready to make sense of what I'm feeling yet. This silence means I'm drowning in my own emotions, and I need space to breathe before I can tell you why. My overwhelm isn't about you specifically. It's about my nervous system hitting maximum capacity. Monday, February 20th, 7:34 p.m. during dinner at Faux Grand on St. Mark's, where we always order the same booth by the window. You mention wanting to introduce me to your parents next month, and I suddenly can't speak for 47 minutes. not because I don't want to meet them, but because the reality of being someone worth introducing triggers every abandonment fear I've carried since my father left when I was 12. I excuse myself to the bathroom and count to 68 while staring at my reflection in the cracked mirror. Wednesday, February 22nd, 4:52 p.m. When you say you're falling in love with me while we're walking through Washington Square Park. My silence lasts for 2 hours and 13 minutes because the words falling in love activate every trauma response I have about people who claim to love me and then disappear. I'm not rejecting your love. I'm paralyzed by the terror of believing it might be real this time. Friday, February 24th, 9:41 a.m. After you text, "Are we okay?" while I'm drinking coffee from the mug you bought me in Boston. I want to explain that your love feels too good to trust. That happiness makes me suspicious, like waiting for the other shoe to drop. That I've been conditioned to expect pain after periods of joy. But translating this emotional complexity into a text message feels impossible. I respond with, "Just processing," and hope you understand that my silence is about my history with abandonment, not your present devotion. Clinical trauma studies identify this as emotional dysregulation with verbal shutdown. When the nervous system becomes overwhelmed, language processing centers temporarily reduce function to conserve energy for survival responses. My silence during overwhelm is like emotional first aid. I'm applying pressure to internal wounds while trying to stop the bleeding. I don't go quiet because you've done something wrong. I go quiet because my entire system needs to recalibrate before I can trust myself to speak without bleeding all over you. I developed tension headaches for 6 days because holding all these feelings without expression creates physical pressure in my skull. If you're watching this because someone's silence has left you confused and desperate for answers, subscribe now. The signals I'm about to decode reveal the difference between silence that protects and silence that punishes. Overwhelmed silence evolves into strategic withdrawal. Signal number 3, the silence of boundary protection. When you've crossed a line I haven't explicitly drawn, I use silence to create distance while I figure out how to address the violation without causing a fight I'm not ready to have. This silence means you've done something that feels wrong, and I'm protecting myself while I decide how to handle this. I'm not trying to punish you. I'm trying to protect my emotional safety while maintaining relationship stability. Tuesday, March 7th, 6:15 p.m. after you make a comment about my weight during dinner with your friends. Sarah's been hitting the gym. I love that she's getting so toned. I smile and don't respond, but internally, I'm cataloging this as a moment when you used my body as a conversation topic without my consent. My silence begins immediately and lasts for 43 hours. Thursday, March 9th, 8:27 a.m. When you ask why I seem distant, I can't explain that your comment made me feel like a project rather than a person, without starting a conversation about respect that might reveal how fundamentally different our views are about women's bodies. My silence continues, because addressing this requires emotional labor I'm not sure you've earned. Saturday, March 11th, 11:52 p.m. After you've asked 3 times what's wrong, I finally say nothing's wrong, just tired. What I mean is, you've revealed something about how you view me that I need time to accept or reject, and I'm not ready to find out which direction this conversation will go. My silence is buying me time to decide if this is worth fighting for or fighting about. Behavioral psychology documents this as strategic disengagement for boundary maintenance, creating temporary distance to process violations while preserving relationship viability. My protective silence isn't about what you did. It's about what your actions revealed about what you think is acceptable. And I need time to decide if I agree. I go quiet because speaking would force me to confront differences I'm not ready to face, or demand changes I'm not sure you're willing to make. My jaw aches for 5 days from clenching my teeth instead of saying words that might change everything between us. And I have to massage my temples with ice cubes every night before bed to relieve the tension. Boundary protection silence intensifies into testing behavior. Splayed down slowly. Signal number 4. The silence of expectation testing. When I want to know how much you care, I strategically withdraw my usual communication patterns to see if you'll notice, pursue, or just let me fade into background noise. This silence means, show me what I mean to you when I'm not actively proving my value through constant availability. I'm not playing games. I'm conducting research about your level of investment. Sunday, March 19th, 10:22 a.m., when I usually send you my Sunday morning coffee shop photo. I don't send it. I'm testing whether you'll notice the absence of something that's become routine between us. You don't mention it until Tuesday. This tells me everything about where I rank in your attention hierarchy. Tuesday, March 21st, 7:48 p.m. when you text about your work stress. I read it, but don't respond for 4 hours and 17 minutes. Usually, I'm your immediate emotional support system, offering solutions and sympathy within 12 minutes. I'm testing whether you'll double text, call, or just accept that I might not be available to manage your feelings tonight. Friday, March 24th, 6:34 p.m., when we usually make weekend plans. I don't bring it up. For 3 weeks, I've been the one initiating our Saturday activities. I want to see if you'll take initiative, or if you're comfortable letting our weekends dissolve into nothing without my effort. You don't mention plans until Sunday morning, asking what I want to do if I'm free. Stanford attachment research shows this as proximity seeking through strategic withdrawal. Temporarily reducing accessibility to assess partner investment levels and attachment security. My testing silence reveals what role I play in your life when I'm not actively playing it. I withdraw my usual energy to see if you'll invest yours, or if our connection only exists when I'm the one maintaining it. I lose 3 pounds that week because anxiety about your potential indifference makes eating feel impossible, like swallowing stones while waiting for you to prove I matter. Write me in the comments if you've ever used silence to test someone's interest. Watch my video. The more you ignore them, the more they feel it, to understand the psychology behind strategic emotional withdrawal. The silence I'm about to reveal becomes deliberately punitive. Testing silence transforms into emotional warfare. Signal number 5. The silence of calculated punishment. When you've hurt me and I want you to feel the consequences, I use my absence to make you experience what life is like without my attention, affection, and energy. This silence means I want you to understand what you're losing by treating me badly. This isn't unconscious withdrawal. It's deliberate emotional strategy designed to create discomfort. Wednesday, April 5th, 2:43 p.m. After you cancel our anniversary dinner for drinks with your coworkers, I don't respond to your text about rescheduling. For the next 72 hours, I don't initiate any contact. I want you to sit with the silence and realize that some disappointments have consequences beyond just saying sorry. Saturday, April 8th, 9:17 a.m. when you text miss you, I see it immediately, but don't respond for 9 hours. I want you to feel a fraction of the loneliness I felt eating dinner alone while you prioritized people who get to see you every day. My delayed response is designed to make you wonder if I'm pulling away permanently. Monday, April 10th, 6:22 p.m., when you show up at my apartment without warning, I open the door, but my energy is deliberately flat. My response is minimal. I give you exactly the same level of enthusiasm you gave our anniversary, which is to say, almost none. I want you to experience emotional distance so you understand what your choices create. Neuroscience research identifies this as deliberate withdrawal with consequence enforcement, using emotional unavailability to demonstrate the impact of hurtful behavior. My punitive silence is designed to teach you what my presence is worth by showing you what my absence costs. I withdraw not because I don't care, but because I care enough to want you to understand that hurting me has real effects on what you receive from me. I don't sleep well for a week because using silence as a weapon makes me feel simultaneously powerful and ashamed. Finally, punitive silence gives way to the most devastating type. Signal number 6, the silence of emotional detachment. When I've reached the point where protecting myself matters more than protecting us, I go quiet because I'm actively disconnecting from investment in our outcome. This silence means I'm practicing life without you, and it's starting to feel more peaceful than life with you. This isn't anger. It's the absence of anger. It's me beginning to not care. Friday, April 14th, 11:28 p.m. When you ask if we can talk about us, I respond with, if you want, instead of my usual eagerness to fix things. I'm no longer invested in solving our problems because I'm starting to see our problems as information about incompatibility rather than challenges to overcome. Sunday, April 16th, 3:45 p.m. during our relationship talk. I listen without defending myself, explaining my perspective, or trying to make you understand my feelings. I'm collecting data about who you are when conflict arises, but I'm no longer trying to change the data. I'm just observing it. Tuesday, April 18th, 8:51 a.m. When you text that you love me, I respond with okay, because I love you too would be a lie. And I love you without the two would reveal that I'm already living in a world where your love isn't something I need anymore. My silence around the word love tells you everything about where I am emotionally. Johns Hopkins psychology research documents this as preemptive emotional disengagement, gradually reducing investment to minimize pain from anticipated relationship termination. My detachment silence is the opposite of all the others. It's not trying to communicate anything because I've stopped believing communication can bridge the gap between who we are and who we need to be for this to work. I go quiet because I'm no longer fighting for us. I'm preparing for after us. This silence feels different in my body. Lighter, sadder, but also relieved. Like setting down luggage I've been carrying too long. These 6 types of silence create a complete communication system. These 6 signals reveal that women's silence is never actually silent. Every quiet moment is a message about processing, overwhelm, boundaries, testing, punishment, or detachment. We speak volumes through our refusal to speak. The tragedy isn't that you can't hear our silence. It's that by the time you learn to decode it, we've often moved from silence that invites connection to silence that protects us from it. Some women don't go quiet because we have nothing to say. We go quiet because we have everything to say and no faith that saying it will change anything. Here's what I learned about my own silence. I used quiet like a second language, speaking my deepest truths through the words I refuse to give you. But speaking in silence only works if someone is listening for what isn't being said. The signals aren't about punishment or manipulation. They're about survival in a world where direct communication often feels too dangerous or too futile. Do I regret speaking through silence instead of speaking through words? Every relationship I've lost to miscommunication. Do I understand why I chose silence over clarity? I'm still learning to trust that my words have power. Can someone love you enough to learn your silence? Or should love require you to find your voice? That's the question that keeps me searching for different kinds of connection. If you're currently trying to decode someone's silence, maybe they're not withholding communication. Maybe they're communicating in the only way that feels safe, and learning their language might be the most intimate thing you could do. And maybe the silence isn't about you at all. Maybe it's about them protecting something precious, while they figure out if you're safe enough to receive their words. But how do you know when silence is an invitation to understand versus when it's a wall designed to keep you out? How do you respect someone's need for quiet while still fighting for connection? These questions might not have universal answers. Every silence speaks differently, and learning someone's emotional language takes time. Most relationships don't survive. If you want to understand more about how women communicate indirectly, watch my video, How a Woman Really Reacts When She Realizes You're No Longer Interested. That video will show you what happens when women stop speaking entirely and start planning their emotional exit.